Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Well, welcome back to Giga Texas. It's Wednesday, the 13th of September, and it's actually raining for the first time in a very long time, and it's much cooler, so the conditions are actually pleasant compared to the 110 degree temperatures that have been out here in the last several weeks and months. But before I get into the video intro, I just want to remind you that I've completed my multi-part coverage of Tesla's lithium refinery plant being constructed near Corpus Christi. You can see there were 6 parts. I covered quite a bit of information. If you haven't taken a look at that, I would recommend you do it, just because there's a lot of things that you may not know about the lithium refinery plant and some of the connections to the cathode plant here at Giga Texas. Now, for today here at the site, I did mention it's raining, but that's not really stopping any of the activities. Over on the west side, we start on the very far southwest, and I want to show you that clearing that is continuing to get work, removing some of the hills and ponds, and also redistributing the dirt over farther to the east on this west side to complete that graded area where all the geotextile membranes have been installed. In addition to that, we get a good look at the steel erection going on at the end-of-line facility, which has really progressed quite a bit in the last 48 hours. Most of the superstructure over the 2 large sections of concrete that have been poured and cured is nearly completed. Also, very importantly, nearby, just on the north end of that steel structure, we see horizontal drilling operations getting underway. Now, some of this is for the HDPE pipe. In fact, with this image, you can see some of the fuse welding that is going on to make those pipe segments connected so they can make these long HDPE pipes. But also, in this same general vicinity, directly on the other side of the highway, is where conduit trenching and conduit installation is being done, emanating out from the building near where that temporary end of line was, going across the road and getting ready to what looks like go underneath the central highway. So that's very interesting, and this may be the way to, I don't know, run the sewer and also electrical conduit over to the new end of line facility. The last thing that I want to talk about today is very interesting. Over on the east outbound lot, the last of the Model Ys were just being departed today with one of the transport trucks. Otherwise, the lot is pretty much completely empty. Also, over next to this lot, that new car calibration lot is also completely empty now. And one other thing, as you'll see here, it looks like, I don't know, there were a lot of wheels and tires being delivered. There were a lot of Tesla employees out over in the outbound lot working on all of these wheels and tires. This is the first time that I've seen this going on. There were semi-trucks unloading more and more wheel and tire combinations. They look like they're Model Y tires and wheels, but I'll let you decide that for sure. But it is very interesting to see this kind of activity for the first time on that part of the site. Anyway, there's a lot more to see today, and I do appreciate you watching, and we'll talk a lot through the video as normal. Take care, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you to my Patreon members and ex-subscribers. Members and subscribers gain access to hundreds of high-resolution images, previews of future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. On this rainy morning here at Giga Texas, we're starting off on the extreme far southwest. You can see some of the last remaining hills and valleys here on this side of the property that used to be some of the sand and gravel mine. Here we see the earthwork is continuing, not only flattening some of the hills and filling in some of the ponds, but also taking much of this fill dirt and redistributing it over to the more east side near the warehouse on wheels to help with that grade work. But here's a good low altitude view of what this section looks like. Again, I don't know if this is being prepared for some sort of construction or if they're just using this area for fill dirt right now, but it is interesting to watch this continue to develop. The material staging that you can see here continues to be filled with a lot of materials, some of which are put here temporarily and then moved into the building as they continue to build out the general assembly lines. Some of this is just material that has been stored here for quite some time and it seems like it's unused. And then some of the containers on the left is for longer term storage as well. So there's a lot of interesting items here. Now this is that section where I think the dirt's being brought from that farther west side. The geotextile membranes have been installed. They're filling this over with dirt again. And this area is getting really close to being finished grade, and then they might be able to do more construction. It looks like this may be an extension of this outbound lot that they are building directly ahead of us. On the left-hand side, you can see more of the work on the road. This intersection that's kind of a Y heading off to the left, and it looks like they're preparing some of the medians. And also some of the curbs in this area. We also see excavation work for the steel corrugated pipes for water management. And all throughout this area, we see these white utility trucks with crews working on the lower level power lines that are in this area. We can see more of those steel corrugated pipes getting ready for installation on the top of the screen, and as that road is continuing to progress to the north to eventually connect to Tesla Road. Here's a good view of the new outbound lot, still being used for some of the steel storage, also some of the concrete pipes and other materials that are being used for that end-of-line facility, and some trailers as well. On the left-hand side of the screen, we can see some of this black HDPE pipe in various sizes, and what we also see next to this yellow item is the fuse welding that is being done to connect the segments of these black pipes to make much longer segments. They're also preparing for some horizontal drilling there, and I'll give you some closer views a little later in the video. Right now I want to show you the progress on the steel structure. Most of the west side, almost the length of the concrete that has been cured, has been encased with the steel, the beams for the roof, and some of the walls, and they are continuing that work on the east side as well. And I'll give you some other views a little later here as I turn around. But I want to show you the last remaining section on the south that is getting the trenches filled in. It looks like the plumbing work is completed. You can see the footings with the column mounts are all in place. So now they're going to be preparing this with forms, moisture barrier, and rebar, and then we'll see the last of the concrete poured. This is also a good view of how the steel structure is continuing to expand on this new end-of-line facility. Also, because of the design of the steel and the structure, there's a lot of very open space in here, which will be perfect for vehicle checkouts, maybe storage temporarily, and a lot of other work that is done preparing the vehicles for the shipping off-site. And here you can see some more of the beams being installed here on the east side of this structure and how it's continuing to progress. As I fly up over the roof, I want to show you a closer view here. This is the horizontal drilling that is being set up. You can also see the drill itself, that yellow on the left, and then there's another part of the yellow with white with a kind of a roof. That's part of the drilling. And if you look across the highway, you can see where they are already doing some of that conduit work on the other side of the highway. So I'll go ahead and we'll resume the narration on that side of the highway, and I'll show you where I think we may see this horizontal drilling come through. Now, where these blue fence-like items are. This is where the conduit on this side, which you can see kind of getting ready to cross the road next to that black bus and then going into the bottom of the building. But it's coming over on this diagonal path, and you can see that excavated section. I think this is where we're going to see that horizontal drill come out, and then we're going to see that treated water pipe and also this conduit extend underneath the highway over to that facility. And if that's the case, that will connect the treated water and electrical between the main factory and that site. So definitely something to watch. The main entrance is continuing to make progress. We can see that almost all of that trapezoid has had that polished black material. That trapezoid is actually raised above the surrounding concrete. It's about a foot high, or maybe 30 centimeters higher than the surrounding location. And you can see that plywood that's put down to protect the rest of that concrete, and generally just how this is looking. So it's definitely making a lot of progress. What I want to show you here on this side of the west part of the building is just all of the materials that continue to be brought here, sorted, and then moved inside for that continued assembly lines 2 and 3 build out. We can also see more items here. I'll zoom in. You can get a good look at what has just recently been delivered. Some of these large red kind of painted structures. I think this may be for vehicle bodies to move them on the production line, but there's quite a bit of that red and a lot of the white items that are used for the production line superstructure and equipment mounting. All of these red and white kind of trolleys here on the left still are outside waiting for movement back inside. It may be here just because they need space to do all the assembly work. More delivery items on the left, as you can see, on those kind of that teal color plastic wrap. And what I'm trying to show you here is all of these small power lines. Electric crews have been working on these all day long. You can see some of the white trucks right now. I think they're getting ready to move all of these or remove all of those power lines, and that's related to what we'll see on the south end. A lot of activity with these temporary platforms with materials being moved inside as they are delivered by truck along this part of the road. And also we can see on the left-hand side of the screen those rack mounts with the windows that have been removed. They've relocated them away from the building, and the last time we saw this, they were picked up and then moved over to the west material staging location for safekeeping. You can see how the yellow extra wall panels have been installed where the openings are because of the wall panels being removed, and those windows as well. And also just a general look at the entire south end. The biggest thing that I noticed here is that the continuous flight auger pile drilling has relocated right to the base of the walls now. You can see that the drilling is underway right now. And also on the kind of the top of the screen, you can see that rebar cage being lifted in by that other crane. Again, they drill the bore, they fill it with concrete, and then they press those rebar cages down in to that bore to make that reinforced pile. So they've resumed the work here. You can see the concrete trucks actively pumping the concrete in. And so they are preparing the south end of the building for eventually footings that will support columns for the extension. As we get closer to the stamping 2, we can see the work on the exterior walls, how that is progressing. More of the steel studs have been installed. And then here, through the rain that you can clearly see, they have put together a lot of these rack mounts, and these may be for castings, but they are very different than what we've seen for the Model Y, so they could be for Cybertruck castings, but it's very interesting to see that they are putting them in that location of the building. Here's a good pan around the rest of the south end. You can see more of the rebar cages on the left, the paving work that has been completed on the now southbound lanes of River Road, and just generally how this looks with all of the earthwork just to the south as well. And again, there's utility crews next to that large tower, and I think they are doing all the work necessary to prepare to remove these lower power lines that kind of wrap around this side of the building and over on the west side. Here's a good closer view of those
rebar cages and formwork waiting for future use. See some more materials off to the right. The bridge cranes have now been moved inside, those red with the white Tesla on it. So those are no longer in view right now. We can see more of these white items being delivered by truck. And they may be part of platforms, it looks like, because there's also some, looks like columns. And then just generally more and more equipment continues to be delivered on this side of the building and then prepared for moving inside. Now, because of the clouds, the rain, and the sun is kind of shrouded by those clouds, I'm giving you a slightly different view, looking to the east across that clearing for the new multi-level garage. You can kind of get a good idea of how this area has really been transformed. The grade work, it's very large as far as a rectangular location for that construction. And you can kind of get the sense that they're getting close to the point where we may start seeing the next phase of construction. We might see geopiers coming here to reinforce the soil, prepare for the structure, but I'll keep watching and we'll see how that looks. But you know, they've already moved the trailers that were right ahead of us here on the screen, and they've now prepared that entire section for construction. So the progress here is definitely making quick work of this location, and hopefully we'll see that construction soon. As I cross over the narrowing tree belt, I also notice this larger section getting more and more fill dirt as well. You can see some of it being dumped right now. It looks like they are preparing to extend some of the construction perhaps on this side of the green belt next to where this recycling yard is located. And this is a pretty good view of how that recycling yard looks today. Also the East Warehouse on Wheels at the top left of the screen, and more of the material storage, equipment, vehicles, and some of the trailers for the workers and the contractors here on this side of the site. I'm going to proceed towards the battery cathode plant, where we'll see a lot of very interesting developments today coming right up. I brought the drone down a little lower and a different perspective on these hoppers or cyclones that continue to be prepared for installation in that second floor. Looks like the crane is getting ready to move some of these mounts and or platforms that will go around those hoppers once they are installed. Looks like more of the work on the bases and the feet of those is underway as well, in addition to preparation for movement inside. Also, this is a good pan around to see some of the equipment and items on the ground here, and looking through that large opening where those one of the 3 7-story tall platforms and equipment were recently moved inside. I'll take this opportunity to give you a good view inside the crash test facility on this part. You can see the crash wall on the left, that brown item, the pit. Some people have noticed the cooler with the Tesla emblem on it. Also the frame where they will be mounting the lighting and some of the camera work. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can also see those 2 Cybertrucks waiting patiently, possibly for their opportunity to try out the crash test wall. I'm not really sure, but these are the only 2 Cybertrucks that I saw here on the site today. As I continue to proceed towards the north along the east side of the cathode building, give you a good look at the wade pit and some of the items that are stored nearby. Again, not much activity on the wade pit in a couple of weeks, but we do see on the right-hand side of the screen more of that outfall channel for that steel corrugated pipe is getting prepared for concrete. This is a good view looking up towards the north and northeast of this large clearing. and also that rental equipment lot and maintenance facility up in the Lone Tree area. As I pan back around, this will give you a good view looking from the north to the south over the entire battery cathode complex of structures. On the left is that rounded top crash test lab, and then here on the right we can see some of the steel corrugated pipe getting ready for installation, and we just flew over where there may be a lift station being under construction. On the left of the screen, we can see where the trench work is being filled back in now as they've been installing some of that steel corrugated pipe. Also, some of that black HDPE pipe remains here waiting for installation. And of course, the chiller facility and how it looks today. I gave you a good close-in view of this on my previous video, so for today I'm going to show you this corner instead. You can see some excavation work on the northeast corner of the die shop. You can also see one of the large footings as they have excavated out this dirt and near where that white pipe is. So not sure what they're going to be putting in there, but it's interesting to see that excavation. As I fly around this workshop, you can see where the crews have all of these black pipes. They've been doing some welding modifications. In fact, they're getting ready to do some more right now. I'm not exactly sure where those pipes are being inserted. Could be in the die shop or the cathode plant, but they are definitely doing a lot of modification work. Here's a good close view of some of that work on the left-hand side of the die shop, and here I noticed some trenching and also some interesting pipes coming through this area. It looks like they may be preparing for a connection on this side to extend the piping to the north. The old house complex looks like the rest of the trees have now been flattened, and they're preparing this site for future use. So I want to proceed over towards the outbound lot because I want to show you several different interesting things. First, note that all of the Model Ys are gone. Yes, there's one or two left, but I saw the last of the transport trucks taking about 6 more Model Ys away just before I got here. And then when I did get here, I noticed these semi-trucks with the yellow and black platform. You can see that there are a lot of wheels and tires being delivered for some reason to the outbound lot. And as I bring the drone over towards the left, you'll see many more of them here, some of them being put on pallets. The crews are maneuvering many of these wheels and just sort of relocate them around this site. You can see that they are Model Y wheels, the two different kinds, the black ones on the top, the silver ones on the bottom. Again, I don't know why they would be bringing them here to the outbound lot, but as you can see, there's a lot of activity. Maybe they're doing some training, maybe, I really honestly, I don't know. So if you happen to know what they're doing, I'd like to know in the comments section. So let me see your thoughts on that. But here's a good view of the entire activity that is going on. This is pretty much all that is going on in the outbound lot today. But I thought you might find this kind of interesting to watch and just see what the Tesla employees are doing while the pause of the production continues. You can see all of the transport trucks just idle here, waiting for production to resume, and the end-of-line tents are empty as well. Notice that there was some more excavation work going on here. This used to be a site where there was a road that's now been removed, and it looks like they are preparing some more pipes under the ground, possibly for another bridge. This is a good lower altitude view of the multi-level parking garage site and some more of the concrete and steel pipes on the right-hand side of the screen. The testing and calibration lot, the helicopter pad, the wind tunnel, and the rainmaker looks like it's pretty empty. There's just a couple of vehicles remaining, but as you can see, besides the water from the rain, there's really not much going on here today. And I'll give you a pan around just to get a sense. It's been a very long time since we've seen this lot empty, and I'm kind of curious to see what this means when it comes to the production pace and the ramp that's going on inside. As I fly up over the power lines, I'll give you a good view of this ramp section where they're putting in the forms for the load levelers on the rest of the receiving doors. And once this is completed, it looks like all the plumbing is done. We'll start seeing some of the rebar for the concrete to finish this section out. While I'm here over the roof, I'll fly the drone down, and I want to give you a good look at the continuing installation of these ducted fans, which is part of a new ventilation system for the furnace that is being installed inside just under the roof here. You can see some of those rectangular mounts along the left-hand side of the screen. This is where those ducted fans will eventually be installed. And you can see some of them being prepared for installation right now, and more of them have just recently been brought up onto the roof, including those rectangular bases for more of the ventilation system. Now, in my previous video, we talked about the kiln blocks and what they were going to be used for. I'll zoom in here in the middle of the screen. You'll see that some of them have already been moved in. Those are those concrete panels with kind of the tan squares on them. But we also see a new item with this white plastic shrink wrap put on it. It has just been delivered inside of the door. In the crate, we can also see another casting for a Cybertruck. And of course, this is listed as Project Everest on the crate because that is the code name for the Cybertruck. As I position the drone towards the north, let's fly up over the Tesla Road, and I want to show you some of the developments that are going on at the Megapack site. One thing that you can see is this large hill of the gravel. Much of that has been used to line the roadway, again on the right-hand side of the screen. And underneath that is where all the conduit has been built and placed for quite some time. So it's a great sign. We can here see the perimeter fence, the more of the Megapacks, the transformers, and the work that continues to do the wiring to finish this part of the installation. On the north end, most of the steel assembly and the connections have been made. That catchment basin for the a large transformer has had all the concrete poured, and we'll start seeing some additional work there to finish that section out. And on the north end, we can see that the large conduit with those radius curves continues to be installed. As I mentioned before, take a look at the workers and the conduit to give you an idea of the scale. These are very large conduits that lead from here to the north part of the electrical switch yard. In addition to that, from the transformer to the left underneath the power lines is more of that conduit that works its way over to the south end of the electrical switch yard. I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, give you a different view than I'm normally able to show you because the sun is behind clouds today. And this kind of view gives you an idea of where the connection points and the conduit proceed right underneath the drone over to these two trailers on top of the underground concrete vault. You can see the work with those smaller square concrete vaults where the red-topped conduit is entering, and you can see how they're going to be a 90-degree turn, and we'll be connecting over to that vault underneath those two trailers. And there's several of these concrete vaults being installed along the south side of that structure. And as I bring the drone around and bring it down, you can see some of the spools of the wire prepared to roll out and put more of that conduit, the wires into the conduit and complete these connections. Between the fence and the structure where those workers are walking, they've already finished most of the trench work to connect conduit over to the actual switch yard underneath that fence. And here's a good pullback just to give you an overall view of how this section looks in relation to the north end of the Megapack and the Megapacks themselves, and that section between the fence and those two trailer structures. So anyway, that is a pretty good view across a large part of the site today. It was very nice to see some rain, and also the temperatures have dropped down to a more comfortable level, which is really nice, not only for flying the drones, but also for all the workers that continue to do all of the work that we've been seeing and documenting around Giga Texas. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.